Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming to this Eli color class. Today we're going to talk about Eli's new revolutionary MaxBase Plus shades. These are probably my favorite shades out of our range of 90 different shades because of their unique ability to lift 5 levels. If you go ahead and open up your manual, just to give you a little bit of information, I'm really proud to be able to do innovative new things for our industry, and I'm always looking for something different that can give us a tool to create new things that are better. MaxBase Plus is one of those things that is revolutionary technology that allows us to actually lift 5 levels from the natural. Again, the name is base because they are base colors. So even though they lift this many levels, they are not a high lift. They are not a blonde. They are not anything like your 9.5s or your 12 series with Eli color. These are made to create bases that we can balayage or do melting or highlighting through. Okay? So that's one of the most important things to know about them. So again, the reason I made them is because I noticed in all my years of teaching and traveling, hairdressers, we always have the habit of trying to break the law color, break the rules, and tweak our formulas to make them a little bit lighter if we possibly can. And what happens is when we try to make them a little bit lighter, they always end up even a little bit warmer. So I noticed as I traveled the world for the last 20 years, and every time I look at someone's hair, the client, especially when I get to go to salons, the client will say, I love my highlights, but my base still is a little bit too orange and I don't like it. So I'm like, okay, not only do I have to really focus on how I teach lifting with color and controlling unwanted warmth and paying attention to our bases, but if I can create a series that will give us another level of lift, so I can create the lightest bases to do the blonding through. And that's what these are for. So again, always remember they're a base shade. So we make 4 different ones. I didn't do the base pigments in them because there are multiple pigments that are in them. Of course, they have a lot of cold shades in them, blue and green, and they also have natural in them as well to make them user-friendly, so we don't have to worry about if we overlap or go over the line of demarcation, them turning muddy. And that's revolutionary in itself, to be able to not worry about if they do touch over the line of demarcation, where if other brands, if I was lifting 4 levels with 8 double green and an 8 double blue, and I accidentally pulled that over the line of demarcation onto blonde hair, that would look horrible. So imagine how much pigment's in these if they're actually lifting 5 levels. They almost are like triple diloads of blue and green, but they still have enough natural in them and they're user-friendly that I can overlap that line of demarcation and never see the mud and never see them pick up the cold shade. So they're very user-friendly, so don't be afraid of them. So we make 4 different ones. They're called 2 to 7. That means a natural level 2. Again, virgin hair. Color doesn't remove color, and MaxBase Plus is not magic either. It can only be done on virgin hair. So a lot of times I've seen people who have virgin hair at the root, but 2 inches out have a band of color, then they have lighter. Then you're gonna have to pre-lighten that band before you use them and run the MaxBase Plus over that band. Because again, if you use them and run them all the way through, you'll get light roots, there'll be a band, and you'll have light ends. So make sure you're working on virgin hair when you're using them, or at least assess the hair. If you're not sure and they say, well, I colored it 6 months ago, I would do a test strand with a lightener really quick for 5 minutes, because that will at least tell you if there's pigment in their hair or not. Okay? Then you can go ahead and use MaxBase Plus. So that being said, we make 4 of them. They all lift 5 levels. The last number on them is the level that they lift to. So working on virgin hair, if you grab 2 to 7, you're going to get a level 7 end result from a level 2. If you grab 3 to 8, you're going to get a level 8 end result. If you grab a 4 to 9, you'll get a level 9 end result. And you'll get a 5 to 10 will bring you to a level 10 end result. Again, not translucent, matte. So that's your end result that you get. So they'll look very similar to the page that you're looking at right here. 2 to 7 is going to look like very similar to this. 5 to 10 is going to look very similar to this. Again, that's guidelines. What type of nationality are you putting it on? What type of hair? Are they a level 5 that's very warm? Are they with a lot of pigment in their hair? Are they a very fair level 5? So again, you'll get variables of different shades with them. Okay, but you'll get very close to the natural series. Okay, remember the natural series, the look of the natural series is still warm. Natural has yellow, red, and blue in it. So if you want them to cool off, we can add shades to them to cool them off. If you want to warm them up, you can add shades to warm them up. Again, these are bases. Once the base is done, you can add balayage or highlight through them. Or if you wanted to do highlights and then do the base around the highlights and meshes, that option is available too. That's your technique or your hands-on.
You can't mix anything into the color.
Huh?
You can't mix anything into the color.
What do you mean by mixing anything?
Like a 12 VP.
Yes, you can. You can add any shade to these colors to make them warmer or cooler. Okay? Any shade. And we're going to go over that next on the very next page, actually. So, how it works. These 4 shades only, out of the 90 shades, because of their alkalinity and their unique technology, will lift differently with each one of your activators. So, again, with these 4 shades only, when you use 12%, you'll get 5 levels of lift. If you use 9%, 30 volume, you'll get 4 levels of lift. If you use 6%, 20 volume, you'll get 3 levels of lift. And if you use 3%, 10 volume, you'll get 2 levels of lift. So each activator actually gives you 1 level of lift more than any of the other colors in the Eli series. Okay? Now, you can add any color to them, like I just mentioned. They're going to come out looking like the natural series. Again, they could come out looking warmer, depending on ethnicity, or they could come out looking cooler, but they're going to be very close to your natural series. If I know I'm lifting 5 levels on someone and I really want to cool it off or get a cooler end result, you can add color to these to cool them off. And if I want to warm them up, if I'm working on someone who's going for a very warm tone, again, I can add color to them. But now we have to start thinking about pigment weight again. Okay? What are your heaviest pigments of your 3 primary colors?
Blue, red, yellow.
Okay, those are your 3 primaries. The heaviest is blue. What colors do we use to neutralize unwanted warmth? Blue and green. They are both heaviest of our pigments. So, when we're going to add colors to help neutralize unwanted warmth, we can add no more than 1/4 of our formula, or we won't get the 5 levels of lift. Yellow and red are lighter in pigment weight. So if we want to add warmth to any of our shades, we can add half the formula with MaxBase Plus, because they're not going to weigh them down and we'll get the lift that we want. Does that make sense? Perfect. So, cooling them off, I've given you some examples here through the manual that you can go through, but I'm going to talk about a couple examples myself that can give you some ideas with them. Say I have someone who comes in who's a natural level 5, and I want to lift them to a 10, and I want to cool it off, and I want to have a cooler 10. Okay? I can use my 5 to 10, and I can use my 12% 40 volume that I know is going to bring me to a 10. Now, if I want to cool it off, that means 1/4 of my formula I can play with other shades. So if I was using 40 grams of color total, 30 grams of it would be my 5 to 10. That leaves me 10 grams to play with. Out of that 10 grams, I could do 3 shades if I wanted. I could do 4 shades if I wanted, or I could do 1 shade if I wanted. I have 10 grams I can play with. If I'm looking at them and I see that they're gonna lift really warm, then I'm gonna say, okay, I'm lifting 5 levels from a level 5. What's the RPC at level 5? What's the RPC at level 5? Red. Okay. So, what color do I need to help me cool off my shades?
Green.
Green. So maybe I'm going to use 9.5 green for part of that 10 grams. That's going to anchor it. I chose the 9.5 because it's a translucent 10. I chose the 9.5 because I'm still working at level 10 and I'm using some green in there. Okay? Now what might even help it lift lighter? The 12 series. And if I lift it any lighter, what shade do I see after I see green, or after I see red? So what might be a good shade to add with it, with the 9.522, or 9.511? 12.222, 12.2. So yeah, a perfect formula might be 5 to 10 with 5 grams of 9.511 and 5 grams of 12.222.
What we do with the model?
Yeah, or the one that came up this morning, 12.227,
Yeah.
blue, violet.
Yeah.
A perfect one that she used with her base color this morning when she brought the model up. It was 5 to 10 with 12.227.
And it was another colour, wasn't there? It was,
Yeah, the 9.511.
That's it, yeah.
So once you understand these, you could even use 5 grams. You could use a bit of a little cooler one. If I wanted to really say, wow, I'm going to put just a little bit of 8 in this one and still use a 12, you're still going to get a 10. If you're using 5 to 10 and only 5 grams of it's an 8, it just has heavier pigment weight for more neutralization. So if they're fighting warmth, you might use 8 green instead of 9.5 green, or 9 green, which is still heavier, with your 12.222, 12.2, 12.227, 12.111. There's so many variations that you can mix with this. Okay?
Yeah.
If I want a warm shade, it can be half my formula. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does it help you to understand them?
Yeah.
So now I have a client that comes in who's a Latin girl. I live in Los Angeles currently, and we have a lot of Mexican hair down there. Los Angeles, it was Mexico before the United States took it. And so we have every street, everything is named in Spanish. We have a lot of Spanish down there, and we have a lot of dark hair. And they have the most beautiful, dark, warm skin I've ever seen, and rich brown eyes. They pull red on everything you put on them. It's in their blood, okay? Chile, okay? It's in their blood. They are red, okay? I know I need a lot of green on them. So if I have a level 2 Mexican girl come to me that wants to be light and have highlights, I now have the ability to use my 2 to 7 and get that dark 2 to a beautiful 7 base. I know she's gonna pull extremely warm, even with the 2 to 7. So now, my quarter of the formula I could use, the extra 10 grams, I could use 6 green and 8 blue. That's gonna make a 7, but I've got the anchor of that green at a level 6 instead of a 7. And meeting them, because of the pigment weight of the green and the lighter pigment weight of the blue, or the orange is. So I might use 2 to 7 with 6 green and 8 blue. I could use, if she wasn't Latin, 7 green and 7 blue. There's so many variables, but I would never mix more than that 10 grams with the color. I could say I'm not even worried about the orange on her, I'm worried about the red, and I could use 2 to 7 with 6 green and 7 green. Do you follow me? And then use my Maxlip paste or any of the things to do some balayage or some melting through, and then when it comes off and I lift it up to a beautiful level 10, which is pale yellow, or a 9, which is yellow, then whatever it lifts to, I can choose the proper 9.5 series to camouflage it, or I could mix it with other color to help eliminate it and create a level 7 with beautiful blonde highlights on Latin hair. So these are great for that. But not only for these things for MaxBase Plus, but actually being able to not lift 5 levels and use them for other things. For example, I have a client, she's a natural level 3. She has dark hair, and she always wanted to be a 7N, very 7 natural, okay? So, with highlights in it, beautiful highlights. So 3 to a 7, 4 levels of lift. Before I ever created MaxBase Plus, I would always use my 12% to get her from a 3 to a 7. I knew it was going to be orange, but I also knew I was coming from a dark 3, so I have red. So I always mixed 7 green green and 7 blue blue. And I 12% on her. And it, honestly, in all honesty, it still didn't have enough blue and enough green. On her level 3 dark hair, it came out to look like a 7N cool. It looked like 703. Just a little bit warm. But she was content with it because it's the best she's ever had in her life. Then I came out with MaxBase Plus. Now, I can use 2 to 7 because her end result's still a 7. She never wanted it lighter, but I don't need 12% anymore because I can lift her to that 7 with 9% because she's a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 9% lifts 4 levels. So now she's getting done 10 minutes quicker. And I can cool off 2 to 7. I can't cool off the 711 and the 722 anymore. You can't make it cooler. But now I can use 30 grams of 2 to 7 and the other 10 grams, I can use 5 grams 711 and 5 grams 722. She gets done 10 minutes quicker and she comes out 7-0. No 3 to it at all. It's neutral. Wow, is she happy? And so am I because she's getting done 10 minutes quicker. And I can still do her blonde highlights through it, which is phenomenal. So once you understand these amazing MaxBase Plus, we can use them for anything that you want to do, from whether you want to lift them from their natural level up to 2 levels with 3%, or all the way up to 5 levels with your 12%. Or if you want to enhance them with warmth, this picture that's in your MaxBase Plus, this is a girlfriend of mine from Honolulu. She's actually Japanese, Mayuko, and she has level 3 Asian hair. So what we did with her first was we actually did max lift pace and just did heavy chunks because she likes the light ones. So I let it lift with heavy chunks. So it got out to yellow orange. That's a level 8 for me. I shampooed it out twice. When it's a lightener, we always shampoo out twice. Then I used my MaxBase Plus 2 to 7, not 3 to 8, even though she's a 3. And I wanted to go to a 7 at that base. And then I mixed 2 to 7 and I added red. And I added orange with level 7 and level 8 orange. And put it over the whole thing so I knew the dark hair would lift to that deep 7. But look what it did on the light hair that I had already previously lightened. That's MaxBase Plus from the roots through the ends with one formula. Creating all these multiple shades. So you can use them for your warm tones as well. They are very unique. They're completely different than anything on the planet. Once you get familiar with them, they'll probably become your very best friends in the world. The people that have been using them now for the last year that really understand them, they're the favorite colors, just like mine. They're my favorite ones in the whole line. And for me to really get to know them as a creator of them, I actually put myself in the position as every time I use color, I have to use these. I make myself use them with everything I'm doing when I'm looking 2, 3, 4, or 5 levels. And then I add color to them. Yesterday we had a model, she wanted a 7, and she was was it a 6 or a 7?
Yeah.
But she was a 4, so we used MaxBase Plus and we added color to it. And it came out gorgeous, it was beautiful. So really learning the different things you can do with them. They do cut your processing time down now. If you're using them in the lower levels and you're not going for the maximum of 5 levels lift, they're incredibly fun to work with, and I'm really happy I was able to create them for you and give them for you to play with. Remember, they are bases, they are not high lift tints. Another great fun thing to do with them is you can actually now use them for highlighting, but no, they're matte. They're bases, you can mix them with the 12 series. So if you're not doing solid color, and you're actually going to put them in meshes or foils, and I have a level 5, I can use my 5 to 10, and then I can use half the formula, 12-2-2-2 or 12-1-1-1, and I can create some amazing highlights on a level 5 without bleaching and toning that level 5.
Do you get that little bit of extra lift with the foil, just out of interest?
Yeah, yep, and by adding half the series, your 12 series, because 12 series is translucent. So it blows up the MaxBase Plus to make them see-through.
Can
Does-
you use these freehand?
For,
Like balayage or anything like
they're like every other color, so if you don't comb through them or push them on, if you use color freehand, do it the same way you do color, yeah.
They're much more malleable in these particular colours.
They're the most alkaline of any shades that we have. Yeah, that's why we get $5 absolutely. But the amount of alkalinity in it is still less than 2%. So, you guys ready to color some hair?
Yeah!
All